Hello everyone, welcome back. In today's video, we got another news video to discuss. We've got things to talk about here, including the All-Star Skills Competition, how did that do over the past little while, and we've also got a couple of waiver updates, injury updates, and some trade rumors involving the Flames, the Oilers, the Flyers, the Predators, and the Arizona Coyotes possibly making a deal with the Anaheim Ducks. And we'll get to all of that coming up right now. Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here at the Internet Talking channel. Before we begin this video, don't forget to like this video and subscribe down below. Thank you for all your support. I'll never be able to without you guys. So don't forget to subscribe so we're going to reach 50 subscribers, and also leave a comment down in the comment section below discussing all that was discussed in today's video. So to start things off today, we're going to be doing a quick look here at the All-Star Skills Competition, which happened yesterday. It was a very interesting and entertaining event. We had a lot of interesting stuff from the All-Star Skills Competition. There were 12 players competing this year. Each had a chance to enter in one of the first 6 challenges, and then the top 8, because they did it via points this year, the top 8 would wind up going on to the 7th contest, and then the top 6 would wind up going to the 8th contest with a chance to win the $1 million prize. So those were definitely interesting notes. The way they did the point system is the winner of the event got 5 points, second overall got 4 points, third got 3, second got 2, and fifth overall got 1. And if there was more than 5 players in any of the events, then the other guys after 5 didn't get any points. So that's the way they did the system this year. So they started with the fastest skater competition, in which Connor McDavid won with a time of 13.408 seconds. He narrowly beat Matthew Barzal, who got second. Then Quinn Hughes, by a 100th of a second, was able to beat Cale Makar to get third overall in the fastest skater competition. Makar got 4th overall, and then William Nylander got 5th overall. So that's the way this fastest skater competition went. Then the one-timer competition, there was 8 players competing, and in that one they have to try and get one-timers in different slots. Nathan MacKinnon wound up winning that competition with 23 points at the end of it. He was followed by Leon Draisaitl and David Pastrnak, who wound up getting 22 points in that competition. Pettersson was 4th with 20 points. Kucherov was 5th with 19 points. And then Miller had 18 points. Barzal had 17 points. And Matthews had 15 points. And those were guys who finished on the outside looking in at the top 5. Then you had the passing challenge, trying to see who could be the best passer, at least in the All-Star Skills Competition. Elias Pettersson wound up winning that competition with 25 points, getting the top end spot. He was followed by Cale Makar, who had 23 points, Barzal, who had 21 points, Matthews, who had 18 points, Nylander, who had 16 points, Hughes, who had 15 points, MacKinnon, who had 13 points, Draisaitl, who had 12 points, McDavid, who had 10 points, Miller, who had 7 points, and Kucherov, who had 5 points. And those are guys who wound up playing in the passing challenge. Then you had the hardest shot competition. The winner of that was Cale Makar, who had 102.56 mile per hour shots. He wound up winning the competition. He was followed by JT Miller, who had 102.3 mile per hour shots. So very good stuff there for Miller. And then Pettersson was 3rd in that round with 98 mile per hour fast shot. Pastrnak was 4th with 97 mile per hour fast shot, and Matthews was 5th with 96 mile per hour fast shot. So very good stuff there for those guys. Then a stick handling competition, McDavid was the quickest time with 25.755 seconds. He won the competition there. Then Barzal was second with 26.9 seconds. Nylander was 27.2. MacKinnon with 27.7, Draisaitl with 28.6, and then you had Hughes with 29 seconds. Pettersson with 29.5 seconds, Pastrnak with 38.4 seconds, and Kucherov had his lowest with 44 seconds. And those were players who played in stick handling competition. Then in the accuracy competition, McDavid was the fastest, finishing it in 9.158 seconds. He was followed by Matthews, who finished in 9.3 seconds. Then Miller was 3rd with 13.5 seconds. Nylander was 4th with 14.09 seconds. Hughes was 5th with 14.18 seconds. MacKinnon finished after that with 15 seconds. Kucherov with 16.4 seconds, Makar with 19 seconds, Pastrnak with 19.67 seconds, and then Draisaitl finished it in 46 seconds. So those were guys who finished the accuracy competition. So after the first 6 competitions, Draisaitl, Pastrnak, Kucherov, and Hughes were eliminated, and they did not enter the final 2 competitions. So then they went on the one-on-one challenge, where the 8 players chose a goaltender and went one-on-one with them to try and put a lot of pucks past the net to see how many points they could get. So William Nylander wound up getting 9 points against Cam Talbot. MacKinnon got 2 points against Sergei Bobrovsky. Miller got 6 points against Jeremy Swayman. Matthews got 7 points against Thatcher Demko. Pettersson got 3 points against Jake Onger. Barzal got 6 points against Igor Shesterkin. Makar got 4 points against Connor Hellebuck, and McDavid got 3 points against Georgiev. Georgiev wound up being the best goalie and getting the $100,000 prize for most saves in the one-on-one challenge by stopping 9 of McDavid's shots, so very good stuff there for Georgiev. But Nylander was first in that competition, Matthews was second, and the Miller and Barzal were third, so very good stuff there. And then after that, McKinnon and Pettersson were eliminated, so then they had to go through the obstacle course, which was the final 6, the one who wound up deciding who the winner was. And McDavid, who was leading the scoreboard at that time, wound up winning the obstacle course competition, finishing it in 40 seconds. So McDavid did wind up winning $1 million prize for the winner of the All-Star competition. After him, Makar was 43 seconds, was second. Matthews was 47 seconds, was third. Nylander was 49.0 seconds, was fourth. Miller with 49.3 seconds was fifth. And then Matthew Barzal was last. So not great stuff there for some of these guys, but McDavid does wind up winning the $1 million prize for the best at the All-Star skills competition. So very good stuff there for McDavid. Definitely love to see that. And though, in my opinion, it was a pretty good All-Star skills competition. Not like some of the ones we've had before, but it was a really good one in my opinion. So I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on the All-Star skills competition down below, and definitely suggest you go and check out how all the All-Star skills competitions went. But that's sort of the only thing to discuss over here. About the time that I'm taking this video, we've got the All-Star games going on. First, Team McKinnon will take on Team McDavid at 12 p.m. Pacific time. Then Team Hughes will take on Team Matthews at 1 p.m. Pacific time. The winner of those two will take on each other in the last game of the day at 2 p.m. Pacific time. So we'll have to wait and see who ends up winning the All-Star game competition. I'll talk about that in my next video on Tuesday. But going over to a couple of quick stuff here from the past couple of days. First, we got a waiver update here to discuss. I wasn't expecting very much waiver activity over the past few days. We did get one waiver placement yesterday. Julian Gauthier of the New York Islanders was placed on waivers. We'll have to wait and see if he claims or clears. At this point in time, the waivers have not finished yet, so I'm not exactly sure if Gauthier cleared or if he's been claimed. But Gauthier is a really good bottom six forward. He could definitely be some help for a couple of teams. I know we've seen a couple of good bottom six forwards clear over the past little while, like Walker Duehr in Calgary and Ricky Charter in Ottawa. So I wouldn't be overly shocked if Gauthier does wind up clearing. We know he was a bottom six forward for the Rangers at some points in time over the past little while, but he never really was able to carve out himself out a role. Like I said, he's a decent fourth line forward, can definitely be a really good spare forward. So if there's a team out there who really needs some bottom six forward help, I could see him be claimed. Definitely not saying it's an unlikely possibility, but on top of that, I don't think he has as much value as he once had, but I think Gauthier could still be a really good bottom six forward. So I wouldn't be overly shocked if he got claimed. I think it's a really good bottom six forward, and he can definitely help a team on the fourth line, but also wouldn't be surprising if he wound up clearing waivers. So we'll have to wait and see, and we'll talk about this on our next video on Tuesday, but definitely some interesting waiver updates there from the New York Islanders placing Julian Gauthier on waivers. Only 2 injury updates here to discuss over the past little while, and those were from the last game for the All-Star break. Tomas Charles was cleared to play and got back into game action, while Alex Barabanov suffered undisclosed injury and is out day right now, so really bad stuff there for Sharks. Good to see Hurdle get back, but really bad to see Barabanov get injured, especially given the fact he's a potential trade candidate, and we're going to have to wait and see exactly what else happens, but definitely some interesting stuff there for the Sharks. But those are only 2 injury updates we have over the past little while, and going over to the trade rumor part of the video. So we've got a lot of trade rumors here to discuss. We got a couple of them. First, with the Arizona Coyotes and Anaheim Ducks, I've seen a couple of people over the past little while. I think this is just pure speculation, but there have been a couple of people I've seen who have been linking Anaheim Ducks for Trevor Zegras to the Arizona Coyotes. Now, this would be a fantastic addition for the Arizona Coyotes. I know that the Coyotes are not a complete buyer, and they wouldn't want to, if they were to add at the deadline, really get like rentals and stuff like that and give up first-round picks. But if it was for something to help the future, I think they'll be open to doing that. So Zegras will definitely be a fantastic fit. Imagine adding Zegras to a forward group that already has guys like Logan Cooley, Clayton Keller, Matthias Maccelli, Dylan Guenther, amongst other really good talented forwards. It would really help the Arizona Coyotes improve in this thing. Now, this could be probably more of an offseason move if the Arizona Coyotes would consider this. I don't think they'll be definitely willing to make a move like that right now, especially with Zegras being injured. But the return package, according to a couple of people, that would probably have to happen if the Arizona Coyotes were to try and acquire Trevor Zegras, would be Nick Schmaltz, who's been a really fantastic top six forward for the Arizona Coyotes this year. Connor Geekie, future second, third line center at the NHL level, would be a fantastic addition for the Anaheim Ducks, and a high draft pick, which my guess would be a first round pick in either this year or next year's draft. So that would be a really high asking price. Schmaltz is a really good veteran center. There was some talk before the Arizona Coyotes changed directions in the offseason that they were could possibly move him. So I wouldn't be overly shocked if it was to get a guy like Zegras. They'll be open to moving him. They have a lot of good young players, so moving a guy like Connor Geekie would not be overly surprising, in my opinion. And on top of that, you probably would have to move a first-round pick too. So would that sort of trade package work for the Ducks? I mean, I think the Coyotes could definitely be a player for Trevor Zegras if he was to be moved. I think Zegras is a possibility to be moved. We know we've heard some reports that Zegras may wind up being moved. I think it's definitely a possibility. So at that point, I know Arizona will make a ton of sense. With that trade package of Schmaltz, Geekie, and probably a first-round pick would be enough to pull off a Zegras trade. I'm not sure. I think the Ducks would probably want a little bit more. I know Schmaltz is a really good top 6 forward. Geekie's a former top 15 draft selection, and it should be a good top middle 6 forward in the next little while. And you've also got a first-round draft pick, which would definitely help this team, especially given the fact that if they were to move this year's first-round pick, it would be a top 10 pick probably. So it's going to be interesting to see, but this could be definitely a really good deal. I think the Ducks would probably want a little bit more, but I could definitely see Zegras be a fantastic fit with the Arizona Coyotes. And if they had to part with a good top 6 forward in Schmaltz, a good prospect in Geekie, and a first-round pick to do it, I think they would be open to doing it, especially given the long-term future they could have with a guy like Trevor Zegras. So it's going to be interesting to see, but I've definitely seen some people link Zegras to Arizona, and that would probably be more of an offseason move. We'll have to wait and see if that winds up happening. Next, going over to the Philadelphia Flyers, could we see Scott Laughton be moved by the Philadelphia Flyers? Now, the Flyers, we've talked about this over the past little while. They're in a playoff spot right now. They're doing really good, but they have lost 5 straight entering, I think, the All-Star break. They're not doing overly well right now, and even though they have a decent, I think it was like 6 or 7 point cushion on the teams like the Devils, the Penguins, the Islanders, and the Capitals for a top-end spot in the Metro Division, those teams are all getting healthier, and they are all know what they need to do to try and get back into a stretch run for the playoffs. The Flyers have just lost their starting goaltender in Carter Hart due to all the 2018 World Junior stuff, and that's really started to hurt them a little bit. I don't think Urson's ready for a playoff run at this point in time, and I don't think Peterson is also ready for some sort of sustained run. So it does look like the Flyers have a very likely shot at falling out of the playoffs. They definitely had a really good run, but I think they will probably wind up falling below the playoff mark, and teams like Jersey and Pittsburgh will have a shot at the top 3 in the Metro. But it's going to be interesting to see how that works. But if they do, we know there's definitely been some talk about moving pending UFAs, like a guy like Sean Walker, guys like Nick Seeler if they can't get him signed. But another guy whose name's popped up, according to Darren Dreger, who tweeted this out, is Scott Laughton. Now, Laughton is not a guy who the Flyers really want to move. He's a really good locker room fit. He's been a fantastic middle 6 forward for them. He's definitely versatile. He can play center, he can play wing. But according to a couple of reports, we recently saw Sean Monahan be traded to the Winnipeg Jets. We saw Lars Lindholm be traded to the Calgary Flames. There's not too many top 6 or top 9 centers available who are rentals. You got Am Henrique, who's a really good center. I guess you could throw in a guy like Jack Roslovic, who could be a decent center too. Besides that, you don't really have very many top-end centers, and Laughton could be a really good second, third-line addition for a couple of teams. Now, he'll probably be more of a third-line addition on a team like New York or Colorado. Maybe would even be a second-line center in Boston, who I think would be a really good fit for him. So I know the Avs, the Bruins, and the Rangers are all looking for help right now. The center group, I can see all of them have some interest. Now, it'll definitely have to be a really high asking price. There was a lot of talk that the draft, they were taking calls on Scott Laughton, and they were not even willing to move him for just a first-round pick. So they may have to try and overpay a little bit here to get Scott Laughton away, given the fact that the Flyers really do like him. So it would definitely have to be a really, really high overpayment. But given all the fact of the centers that have gone now, given the fact that these teams still want to try and upgrade their center position, I think there's a very likely chance that we could wind up seeing a guy like Laughton wind up being moved. Now, it would definitely, like I said, take a big asking price. I guess would be a first-round pick plus another asset if they were to move Laughton. But I think there's enough teams out there who need some center help who would be open to the move. So we'll have to wait and see how that works. But I think Laughton is going to be another name we have to watch out for the next couple of weeks leading up to the trade deadline. He'll be a fantastic addition for a lot of teams. He's signed for this year, but I think 2 more seasons at $3 million. I think he'll be a fantastic addition for a couple of teams. So we'll have to wait and see there, but it does seem like the Flyers are taking calls on Scott Laughton. And with the center market now sort of shriveling up a little bit, a guy like Laughton might be a guy who could end up being a hot commodity, so we'll have to wait and see how that works. Going over to the Nashville Predators, David Pagnotta was recently talking about UC Saros, and he sort of mentioned what sort of trade package the Nashville Predators could be looking for. Now, we recently talked about this in our last video about how Nashville could be looking to make some sort of a big splash at this year's trade deadline, whether that be buying or selling. They have a lot of pending UFAs. We said they have Kevin Lankinen, Barry, Carrier, Novak, Trennan. So if they were to be sellers, they could definitely move off a lot of pieces. We know another guy whose name has come up over the past little while as a possible trade candidate is UC Saros. We know that a little while ago on the Insider Trading video, about a month ago, Pierre LeBrun was talking and said that they wouldn't be opposed to moving Saros with all the teams who need some goaltending help this year. So I could definitely see Saros be moved. Now, according to David Pagnotta, the return package would be something of really, really hard to pull off, but I could definitely see some teams who are in desperate need of a really good solid goaltender who could use Saros for this year plus next year wind up pulling it off. That is 2 first-round picks, a really high-level prospect, and another asset. So we're looking at something like a 2024 first-round pick, a 2025 first-round pick, or a 2025 and a 2026 first-round pick. Probably one of the best prospects in the team system. So like we said, Pierre LeBrun was mentioning LA. He said they would probably have to part with Quinn Byfield. I don't think he'll be a prospect at this point in time, but something like that, like a really high-level prospect and another asset, my guess would be either some sort of a decent player to sort of off-balance the cap, or maybe another draft pick or something like that. But that would be a really high asking price. If the Preds were able to get 2 first-round picks and a really good prospect for Saros, I think he'd do it all day of the week. Now, would there be a team out there who would be willing to pay that sort of asking price? We know the Oilers could definitely use some more help in net. We know the Canes could definitely use some more help in net. The Devils. Would they be willing to go after a guy like Saros if the asking price is too high? Or would they be more willing to go after a guy like Jacob Markstrom or John Gibson, who I think the price will be a little bit lower on? So it will be interesting to see how that works out. But according to David Pagnotta, the asking price for Saros is 2 firsts, the high prospect, and another asset. I don't see very many people offering that for Saros, but I definitely think with him being an all-star level goaltender, with there being a lot of teams who need some starter help, and with Saros being signed for not only this year but next year, I think there's a very likely chance we could see a Saros trade. So it's going to be interesting to see what that's sort of the asking price for UC Saros right now. And then on top of that, we're going to talk about the 2 Alberta teams. First is the Edmonton Oilers. They were talking about this on TSN over the past couple of days. They were just doing a recap of the Lindholm trade and what could be next for 2 Alberta teams. First, with the Edmonton Oilers, they said that they don't really want to make any moves right now, given the fact that they're on a 16-game winning streak, but they definitely could try and eventually go after a high-end scorer, someone who could really fit in their top 6, top 9, who could definitely fit on that forward group. And a couple of names that Chris Johnston mentioned when he was talking about this was Jake Guentzel and Jordan Eberle. Now, Eberle is a former Oiler. He went to the Islanders a while ago. He was taken an expansion draft by Seattle. He's in the final year of his deal. The Kraken are a bubble team, so they're not guaranteed at this point in time that Eberle would be moved. But I could definitely see Eberle be reunited in Edmonton and be a very fantastic top 6 forward there for the Oilers. We know over the past while the favorite to land Jake Guentzel was the Vancouver Canucks, but it seems a lot unlikely right now that they would go after Guentzel after acquiring Elias Lindholm and not having too much cap space. So if they weren't able to go after Guentzel, another team who's been willing to him heavily is the Edmonton Oilers. He could be a fantastic fit in the top 6, be a really good goal scorer and align with Connor McDavid. So I could see the Penguins possibly move him, but once again, they're a bubble team. They're only a handful of points out of a playoff spot, so there's no guarantee that they would move Guentzel either. So according to Chris Johnston, the Oilers are willing to be patient, and they know some of the guys who are targeting like Guentzel and Eberle are on bubble teams, and they have to wait until closer to the deadline to see if they're going to be even available to acquire. But it's definitely an interesting situation to watch out for, as Eberle is a former Oiler. Guentzel will be a fantastic top 6 addition, so it seems that those two could be guys who the Oilers try and target before a deadline, so we'll have to wait and see on that. But according to Chris Johnston, the Oilers are willing to remain patient and try and wait until closer to the deadline to make some sort of move to improve their team. And lastly here, going to Calgary Flames. We know we saw them trade Elias Lindholm, and they were talking about this. Pierre LeBrun was on TSN, and he says that the 3 guys, he says Markstrom, it's very likely that it's sort of more of an off-season move at this point in time. He's a decent goaltender. He's got this year plus 2 more seasons of $6 million. It would be a really difficult move to make work in season. But he says he knows that there's a lot of teams out there who need some goaltending help. He also said that Elias Lindholm was probably his best friend on the team. He winds up getting traded, so never say never. It's quite possible he could wind up being moved at the deadline, but Pierre LeBrun did say it's more of an off-season move, so we'll have to wait and see there. But Markstrom's definitely a name that's out there. Noah Hanifin, Pierre LeBrun said that sort of the same thing that Elliot Friedman was saying, and that is that the Flames do still have some interest in signing him, but he does expect them to probably wind up trading him. They definitely still could wind up signing him. That's exactly what Elliot Friedman said too. They're going to try and sign him, but there's going to have to be some sort of a decision coming out of the All-Star break of either is Hanifin being moved or is Hanifin re-signing with the Flames. We'll have to wait and see on that, but according to Pierre LeBrun, it sounds like Hanifin has to make a decision over the next little while, and it'll be really interesting to see if he wants to get moved or remains in Calgary, so I'll have to wait and see how that. Now, Chris Tanev, he says that the asking price right now for Chris Tanev will be a second-round pick and another asset. Now, I'm not exactly sure what sort of another asset that will be. Would it be like a B or C level prospect? Would it be like a second or third round pick? Would it be a decent young roster forward or defenseman or something like that? Definitely, I'm not exactly sure what sort of the extra asset would have to be involved, but Tanev is another really good option for a guy who could definitely be traded. He's a top 4 defenseman, right-handed defenseman. He's sort of the guy you want to have on a playoff run, so I think there's going to be a lot of teams interested in Tanev, so definitely think he's going to be traded. The second round pick and another asset, I don't think that's too far off the mark. There was a lot of talk for a while that Tanev was going to be moved for a second round pick if they want to try and add another asset in before the deadline. I think that's definitely likely there for the Calgary Flames, so we'll have to wait and see exactly what happens, but expect Tanev to be traded. Asking price right now is a second round pick and a decent prospect. Expect Hanifin to make a decision over the next day or two while the All-Star break continues, and if he winds up not signing with the Calgary Flames, expect him to get moved as well. And then Markstrom just lost his best friend on the Calgary Flames. Losing that sort of a guy could lead Markstrom to also be a guy who walks out the door. Not exactly sure what they would want for a Markstrom trade, but it's definitely going to be interesting to see if they would be willing to move Markstrom in season. According to Pierre LeBrun, it's more of an off-season move, but we'll have to wait and see on how that goes. But there's definitely still a lot of moves in there for the Calgary Flames. We'll have to wait and see exactly what moves they do before a trade deadline. So that's all we're going to talk about for today. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on all this down in the comment section below. What do you think about the Calgary Flames? Do they move Hanifin? Do they move Tanev? Do they move Markstrom? Who's the next guy move it after Elias Lindholm? Definitely love to hear your guys' thoughts on that. Do the Edmonton Oilers acquire Guentzel? Do they acquire Eberle? Is there another player out there who the Oilers could acquire? Definitely love to hear your guys' thoughts on that. Do the Flyers wind up moving Scott Laughton? I think it's unlikely, but with the amount of centers who have now been moved, I think it's very likely that there's definitely going to be some interest, and I could see a lot in trade, so we'll have to wait and see on that. Do the Predators wind up getting their asking price of 2 first-round picks, a high-end prospect, and another asset for Saros? I think it's possible given the amount of teams who need a goaltender, but I think it's also a very, very steep asking price, so we'll have to wait and see on that. And on top of that, do you see the Arizona Coyotes possibly being a player for Trevor Zegras if he was to be moved? Not saying he will be, but I think there's a very likely chance that if Zegras gets moved, Arizona could be a very likely option there for him to go to, so we'll have to wait and see on that. And what do you think about the All-Star Skills Competition and the waiver and injury updates? Definitely have to get your thoughts on all of that down in the comment section below, but that's what we're going to talk about for today. We're going to like this video, and if you're like to, remember to subscribe down below. Thank you for all your support and how we've been able to with all of you guys. So go ahead and subscribe so we can change to 50 subscribers. Also a blog talking about news, rumors, analysis, stuff like that, so if you check that out, I'll leave the link to that in the description below, and I can't wait to see you guys all for our next video. See you guys soon.